Divine Divas, welcome to the Boujee Heal Diva podcast. What you are listening to is a section of my jam-packed, power-filled experience called God Frequency Decoded. It is from day 4, and day 4 is where I broke down the DIVVA Code. What the DIVVA Code is the actual code of God frequency. It's the actual code of who the divine diva is and how to embody it. And so this hour and a half make up 6 audios that I've merged into one audio. And they take the DIVVA Code, DIVV, you got it right, A, code, and breaks it down into each one of those and what it looks like when you become the divine diva and embody this. If you want to experience days 1 all the way through the end, you can join at the link that is in the show notes. Take this in. You can take this and run. There's so much more to it, but I wanted to share this with the world on my podcast because your inner divinity is the difference between you and the success, the joy, and the power that you've been placed on this earth to have. Welcome to God Frequency Decoded. This is the beginning of episode 4. And when we were talking in episode 3, we really talked about the divine diva identity. I didn't go into how to shift the identity, but I gave you more information about the identity. And then I walked you through the Divinity Codes, the DIVVA Codes. Now, what I want to do today is go into detail about each one of those codes and give you some examples of what they look like, what they feel like, and it's just so you can listen and feel, am I walking in this code? Am I living my life by this code? Am I utilizing this code for my expansion? Because this is the biggest and the only identity you'll ever need, the divine diva. When you are divinity, you are just naturally up-leveling and expanding because you're expanding with the universe because you are the universe. And so it really isn't about what you do, though there will be things that, like, I always like to make things, a little bit more logical, a little bit more understanding. And I have my personal energetic vibration method where there's the 7 pieces that really make up the identity. And we're going to go deeper in that in the in Divinity House. But I want to really talk to you about the embodiment of this as your higher self. And I want you to be able to just even take one code at a time. That's how we're going to go through it in Divinity House, so that you can really start to see, one, how quickly you can embody it, but also how quickly things in your life in the external world can change once you embody this internally. And so we're going to talk about real power, not the type that comes, and goes, right? This is power that is true. It shifts the moment you command it. And it starts with the DIVVA Codes, DIVVA Codes. These are frequencies, and these frequencies restructure your mind, your body, your business, and your reality. And when you fully integrate in them, you stop operating from a reaction standpoint and start operating in divine intelligence. You'll start seeing beyond the illusion, which means you won't get caught up in the surface level distractions or doubts, You're going to see a real energy behind every situation. I had a conversation with my client and we were talking about some things that were happening politically and things like that. And I was talking to her about a different perspective and she was just like, "You're a saint." And I was like, "It's not that I'm a saint." I was like, "This is the work that I do and I can see beyond the illusion." When you live in the frequencies of the Diva Codes, you move without hesitation. There's no second guessing, no checking for signs, no waiting for clarity, because you already know when you have a cellular level trust, reality bends to your will. When you have embodied the Diva Codes, you rewire your body, your mind, your business, and your life. Your nervous system stabilizes at higher levels of power. Your focus gets sharper. Your decisions become effortless because doubt is no longer a key part of your energetic field. And when you embody these Diva Codes, you expand into wealth, health, power, and presence with no limits, no restrictions. The moment you start integrating these codes, you will see a shift. Your energy will change. You'll feel stronger, sharper, more certain. People will react to you differently. They'll just really come into your world just because of your energy. They will watch you. They will respect you. They will be drawn to you without even knowing why. They'll be drawn to what you're creating without even knowing why. And your business will move differently. Will you never ever have a challenge in your life? Of course you'll have challenges, but you see, you'll respond to challenges in a different way. There's a joyful aspect that is in the midst of this. And so when your business is moving differently, when you're more in alignment, more in flow, you get more opportunities, it feels like more ease. When you are the divine diva, you play the role of cosmic architect. It's the literal consciousness shift into God frequency. This is God frequency decoded. It's direct activation of source code within your human vessel. And your nervous system literally reconfigures itself at a subatomic level. This is why when you move in that decision frequency, which is my favorite, and that's why it's first, your body instantly adjusts. Your cells start to respond to your command. And you need to remember that your DNA is not fixed. It is fluid. And so the moment you shift into these codes, your entire genetic structure starts to update and hold the frequencies of this divine authority. Using this, you're locking in vibrational sovereignty. And you become a electromagnetic force field of change. And this means that no one is manifesting in your world. Like, that's just not a thing. And anyone who enters into your field will feel an unconscious pull to either come towards you or get the F out, because they will know that they are not in alignment. And so I'm going to do a separate audio for each. D stands for decision frequency. Reality bends to your choices. I, influence frequency. Your presence moves worlds. V, vibrational sovereignty. You stabilize power at every level. V is visionary receiving. What you desire already desires you. And A, accelerated collapse. Time bends for you. Time ain't a factor. Time ain't no MFing factor. Each of these codes is its own divine intelligence. Each one expands what is possible for you instantly. And when they are integrated together, nothing will ever be the same. So, continue to listen. There will be audios for each one of these codes. Listen and re-listen. Even this intro is a download like none other. So listen to these audios, integrate them, and start to play with these frequencies and watch your reality shift. I'm a diva. I'm a diva. D of the Diva Codes, the divine diva frequency. The first part of this frequency, the first code, is decision frequency. It means I am, therefore it is. The decision frequency, if you do anything, anything, if you are embodying anything, this is the first frequency that I would recommend you will focus on, because decision frequency is the rawest and it's the most pure. It's also the frequency that when you really integrate it, you can see the most rapid shifts and changes. And so decision frequency, it creates this powerful raw energy that truly bends time and space to your will. If we were to think about it as a law, decision frequency is the law of instantaneous creation. It's an alignment and not an alignment at the same time. It's because I said it is aligned. Do you feel the difference? So a lot of people are like, I'm waiting on alignment. I'm waiting on what I need to do. And so with decision energy, it's like, I'm doing this. And immediately you're in alignment with it because it's like, it is because I am. And so let me tell you what decision frequency is not. It's not a hope. It's not waiting on alignment. And it's definitely not waiting for clarity, a sign, external communication, or confirmation. It is the fabric of creation itself. And so every reality and every experience that you have stepped into or experienced, whether it was good, bad, miraculous, catastrophic, it all was a result of a decision to move, a decision to leave, a decision to commit. And so what you get to do is you get to be the kind of woman who knows that her decision decides it all. Like it determines the future. It determines what happens. Decision frequency is how ancient civilizations, mastered quantum architecture. There's a physical shift between parallel timelines. And it's kind of like that play when I talked about this in SugarBABY, the bonus, the abracadabra. It's when you speak a decision, reality will not argue with you, especially when you speak it with the energy behind it, with the energetics behind it. Reality will reorganize at a molecular level. Decision frequency is source code activation. And as we expand as a society, we will be able to use decision frequency to open wormholes between dimensions. Because when we speak, matter rearranges. It truly is about commanding the field, the quantum soup, like I like to say it. The moment you decide something, your DNA updates to match the frequency of that reality. And if you think about it, like for years and years, you've had a lot of coaches and mentors and transformational and personal development leaders. They were like, decision, you've got to decide. And I've had so many people come to me and say, I've decided so many times and nothing happened. And first, what I noticed is that I decide this is going to work, but then they're still thinking the thoughts and believing the beliefs and moving in the other world of that decision. When you truly make a decision, and a decision in the decision frequency of the divine diva, it is a decision and all other options are closed off. I'll never forget, there was a story of one of my, I was in a program and I forget who it was, but she was saying that she sat there and watched her client who had just recently had a $400,000 month or something like that. And she said she had this thing and she was continuing to have like this cycle happen in her life. And then she saw the cycle like as they were talking. And then she said, nope, I'm done with that. No more. She never mentioned that again, and it never happened again. Basically, she was like, I'm done with that cycle. She didn't do any clearing work. She didn't do anything else. She just moved forward as if that cycle and that door was closed. And then she had her first $400,000 month. The moment you decide something, things start to shift. Now, every upgrade in your life is activated the single moment you say, I don't care what reality looks like. I've decided, and so it is. Ancient systems of power were built on this. This is what the mystics, the rulers, the alchemists, they knew it before it was taught to anyone. They weren't waiting, hoping, and asking for permission. It was the energy of the I am. I am done with that. I have decided it is done. That's decision frequency. Decision frequency is actually the first principle of creation. Reality does not create first, decision does. Before anything can exist, it must be decided. So, in ancient Egypt, the power of Hu, the divine decree, was the foundation of magic. To declare something with full conviction was to make it materially real. In Aramaic, abracadabra translates to I create as I speak. They weren't talking about magic tricks. They were talking about decision frequency in motion. In Vedic traditions, the Sankalpal, I might be saying this wrong, is the law of unshakable decision. Once that decision is made, it is considered done, not over time, instantly. So when you decide that you're not just setting an intention, you're commanding your atoms, your molecules, and the very structure of reality to shift. That's why I love to tell my clients, decide out loud, decide with the frequency of your voice and speak it into being. Like, say it out loud. Don't just think it. This is how our entire star systems were created and built in an instant by civilizations that understood how to bend time. The moment you remove hesitation, you remove delay. Because delay was never real to begin with. Delay is the byproduct of uncertainty. So let's make this real for you. Okay. So, what could happen in your life right now when you lock in the decision energy? So, I've had this happen and I've had it happen with clients. Like the moment you decide you're done with like half-hearted relationships and suddenly people either stepped up or they disappeared. I've had clients that said, I'm deciding I am done. I am done being treated this way and this is not happening anymore. And then all of a sudden that person breaks up with them out of the blue and they think it's something bad. I'm like, well, you decided you were done. It could not stay in your world anymore. I've had clients do the prayer of like, take anything out of my life that isn't serving me. And then all of a sudden they would like everything falls apart, like things that they didn't know were bad for them just disappeared out of their lives. I've had friendships disappear, but it was all things that were draining me. And I didn't realize it until they were gone. How about the moment you decide to go all in your business and that opportunities that you could have never predicted before show up? I've had clients, they decided to go all in on their podcast because knowing they've been wanting to do it and they just weren't doing it. It was like 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And then they decided to just go all for it. And then all of a sudden, top 10 podcasts, all of a sudden, people wanting to be on that podcast, people wanting to interview them on their podcast because they decided to go all in. It does not take long for these shifts. How about the moment you decided that money was no longer an issue and your income skyrocketed without you doing a single damn thing? It wasn't because you worked harder. It was because you decided, and decision frequency overrides everything. Now, this is what it looks like when you're not in decision frequency. I'm thinking about making a move, but then you haven't moved. You're waiting for a sign. Let me wait for that sign. If the butterflies fly 3 ways and then they come in front of me and then stop on the sun and then land on my jean pocket, then I'll definitely do it. Yeah. You said you decided, but you didn't take any action in alignment with that decision. You didn't decide. You're still checking for proof, maybe still questioning, looking at the world for validation. What about this? You've decided that you're going to hit, let's say, that $20,000 month, or I don't know, whatever. But you're still taking on clients and doing things in your business that you don't want to do because you're not really fully convinced that it's going to work through the things that you absolutely love doing. Or you're still tracking every single thing and letting the numbers determine how you feel. We love to look at numbers. We love to celebrate all of the money in and celebrate the money as it goes out and let it know that it's coming back 10 times more. We love that. But letting it determine how you feel, that's the problem. Or what if you're still like making up backup plans just in case this doesn't work? I want the $20,000 month, but I'm not so sure. Let me see. I'm using 20,000 because one of my clients is actually going for it and it's really top of mind. But it doesn't matter the number. It could be your first $1 million month. This is not decision frequency. It's a half decision and it has no power. Now, here's what it looks like when you're in decision energy. When you are in decision frequency, you speak, it is done. You don't move based on what is happening right now. You move based on what you have already decided is done. You don't hesitate. You don't waver. You don't need to feel ready. You just move. You move first, knowing that reality has no choice but to adjust to you. And so If you have decided that you're hitting $500,000 this month, or, and you've got the things, you've got the foundations, you've got the avenues, you've got the audience, you've got it all set up. Instead of waiting for clients to show up, you start moving like the woman who already has it. You start celebrating it. You share it with the public. You say, I'm calibrating to my first $500,000 month. Insert whatever number it is. If you decide that you are attracting the soulmate love of your life, instead of waiting to feel worthy, you move. You start moving through the world as a woman who's deeply loved and chosen. You start going on dates and having fun and not needing that next date to be the one. You're like, I'm just meeting the right people. And when the right person is the right person, I will know. Cellular level trust. If you decide that your audience is growing to hundreds of thousands of people, instead of wondering where are the people, why aren't they watching, you start creating content like thousands and millions and trillions of people are watching. You start showing up like the person who already has that audience, and then things shift to you. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of scenarios. So this is not decision frequency. I want to sign 5 new high ticket clients this month, but I'm waiting to see if people are responding before I really go all in. In decision frequency, you're like, I desire 5 new high ticket clients, which means that they're already in my audience. So I'm showing up, speaking, selling, and structuring my life like they're already here because they are. Here's another example. This is not decision frequency. I'm manifesting financial overflow, but I'm tracking everything and feeling so anxious because what if I don't pay these expenses? Indecision energy is like, financial overflow is my reality. Money expands to support my desires. And because I know this, I am celebrating every dollar in and every dollar out. Because I know money is already in my field and I've created the pathways for it to come. So I'm going to sell, I'm going to do the things and know that money gets to come and blow my mind how fast it gets to flow. Here's another one. This is not decision frequency. I want a relationship with a powerful, aligned partner, but I'm going to keep entertaining this low effort situation just so I can have somebody around because I don't want to be alone. That is not decision frequency. Decision frequency is my person is here. So I am moving, I am dating, I am living as a woman who is already loved, already deeply loved, already deeply adored, already deeply chosen. I'm not settling, no exceptions, and I'm just going to have fun. Decision frequency is the ultimate freedom because when you decide, you collapse time. When you decide, hesitation disappears. When you decide with this divine diva frequency, reality has no choice but to catch up. And so today, you get to decide. What reality are you choosing? What are you done waiting to catch up for you with you when it needs to catch up with you instead of you trying to catch up with it? What will never be the same after this moment? Share that here. The letter I in DIVVA Codes for the Divine Diva is I for influence frequency, which means I move and worlds adjust. The influence frequency is a code of undeniable presence, magnetism, and it makes you a gravitational force in any room, any industry, and in any reality that you choose to operate on. The influence frequency is the law of electromagnetic pull. That's what I'll say. Yes, if we had to think of a law, it would be the law of electromagnetic pull. And let me break this down just a little bit for you. Influence frequency is not about branding. It's not about positioning yourself correctly in the market. It's not about engagement, visibility hacks, warming people up. It's not about the content or messaging. It's not about any of that. It is a being. It's the energy that you have within you that moves people before you say a word. When you have a high influence frequency, when you are like all coded up, you shift rooms, energies. You shift energies, you shift rooms, you shift energies, you shift industries, you shift entire playing fields just by existing, which means people feel you way before they hear you. And this happens the other way around. But the code that we're talking about as the divine diva with the influence frequency high, I move and the world adjusts. The influence frequency, the divine diva, is embodying a level of authority that people recognize before they even know your name. It is God level unseen authority. It's the God frequency, decoded. And so when we look at the influence frequency, we think of the sovereign presence. It's a code of sovereign presence. And if you look at like ancient power structures and mystical traditions and even ways that rulers and visionaries moved throughout history, we see that the most powerful beings do not chase attention. They are the attention. And so the pharaohs of Kemet or ancient Egypt, they didn't campaign for recognition. They really existed as living gods. Their presence alone dictated the movement of the empire. High priestesses and oracles did not convince people to listen. Their words were sought after, their guidance was revered, and their presence anchored in their people's wisdom. And even in the ancient religious texts, when we look at Christ's consciousness, people didn't, Christ wasn't following people, right? Yeshua wasn't following people. People followed Yeshua because he embodied this power, this influence. The law of electromagnetic pull means when your field is strong enough, people have no choice but to respond. And when you embody influence frequency, you are activating a vortex that literally repels those who do not belong in your space. And at the same time, it magnetizes the people who do. Influence is not earned. It's a result of frequency stability. In my head, as I'm thinking, I hear Kendrick Lamar, influence cannot be faked. It can't be faked. Those who hold the codes of divine power do not need to position themselves. Their very essence does the positioning for them. And you don't have to be the loudest. It's about commanding a presence. The influence frequency is like a grid command center. And when a divine diva steps into the influence frequency, she becomes like a node for the planetary grid. And when we think about all of the light workers, star seeds, you know, all of you who are coming here to this earth and to this planet, incarnating at this time, listening to this message right now, you came to this earth at this time and a place. You live in certain places all around the world. And it was because you hold a magnetic resonance field that draws people. And when we're all connected and when we're all doing work like this and work that we'll be doing in Divinity House, guess what? The magnetic resonance is so strong, it shifts mass consciousness. This is why La Lumiere, which is the divine diva circle, like I envision having 144,000 leaders in that space. And 144,000 leaders all raising our frequency, all raising our vibration, all dealing and healing ancestral trauma, healing like triggers, doing all of that. We are unstoppable, and the planet can help but change because we changed it. That's my vision. That's influence. That's the grid command center. And what's changing is when we think about the modern leadership paradigm, it's still in that triangle. It's still a hierarchical kind of thing. And what the influence frequency, with the help of the divine feminine, is doing is it's shifting it to networked restructuring, groups, communities, circles. Divine Diva Circle. Haha. The influence frequency is the energy of I do not seek, I do not approve, I do not chase. It comes to me. I move and others adjust. So when you lock in the influence frequency, the code of influence, you will see that like the moment you stop explaining yourself to people, the more people start to listen. The moment you stop asking for validation, people start offering it freely. The moment you stop wondering if you belong and just know it, people start noticing you, gravitating towards you, paying attention to you and your energy. Not because you spoke louder, not because you proved anything, but because your influence frequency is a standard and it is felt before you speak. I had a client, she was spending months warming up her audience and she had a beautiful brand, a strong message. I mean, it was great, but her business felt like it wasn't moving. And she was posting, she was engaging, she was showing up, and it just felt like people were watching but not buying. And what we noticed, one, there were two things. In her energy field, her vibration was pretty low. Because in her mind, she thought she had to work really, really hard in order to have anybody watch her. And she just was a low frequency. So we focused, number one, on shifting her vibration, raising it, really working through the triggers that were coming up, allowing her to feel those feelings fully so that they can move from and up and out of her body so that she could raise her frequency. And then number two, I asked her, are you leading? Or are you asking for permission? Are you begging for people to hear you? And she knew it. She was trying, like she was begging, look at me, look at me. She'd adjust her message, track her responses, see if they're listening. She wasn't in her influence. She wasn't in having the codes of influence had not downloaded. And so I told her, I said, stop, decide today. You see, that's why decisions comes first, that you influence, that you've got something to say that is going to help these people. Walk with that conviction. And so she stopped like begging and started speaking from absolute authority, not worrying about the algorithm or the strategy or saying the right word. And within 1 week, people started DMing her out of nowhere. She built up her monthly recurring revenue. She also built up her cash received. And then she had 3 consistent $30,000 months. So let me tell you what it looks like when you're not in influence frequency. This is where you're tracking external confirmation before you allow yourself to be seen. You're adjusting your message, your pricing, your presence based on how 1 or 2 people react. You're posting, and waiting for engagement instead of speaking as if the world is already listening. And you're trying to position yourself in the market instead of realizing you are the mother frickin' market. So, for example, let's say you think you're the best in your field, because you are. All of you listening to this, you are the best. You're the best you that there will ever be. But if you're still waiting for more testimonials before you can charge what you know you want to charge, you are not in influence frequency. You are not downloaded. You have not downloaded the influence codes. You're not acting as the divine diva. You say that you have a voice or a message that's going to shift the world, but you're still tracking or trying to wait for the right time for your message. The right time for your message is now. Now is the right time. If you have an urge to say something, say it immediately. Do not wait. So what does it look like to be in the influence frequency, to be in those codes? First of all, you're not chasing behind clients. You're not over explaining because people feel you and they know. You don't adjust yourself to make people comfortable. And you're not competing. You are the standard. There's no competition. There's no I'm against this girl and this girl and this girl. The whole competition and comparison thing is not influence. When you remember that there is no competition because you are a brand, you are an industry of one, you are the standard, then you're not you're easily collaborating across with everyone. You celebrate everyone else's success because you're not trying to compete with anybody because there is no competition. There's a space for everyone and you know it. That is influence frequency. So let me give you some examples. All right. This is not the influence codes. I want to be seen as an industry leader. But then you're changing or adjusting your content based on what gets more likes, or this person said you're supposed to write it this way. That's not you saying I'm an industry leader, especially when you're doing it from the standpoint of, well, maybe she knows more than me. Not, ooh, this is interesting. Ooh, that lit me up. Yes, I'm going to say it that way. Ooh, that's a difference. Now, what is in influence frequency is I am the standard. I speak, I sell, and I create exactly what has flown, come through me because I trust myself. All right, not influence frequency. Well, I hope those high-level clients find me, but I'm still over-explaining. And when they get my DMs, I'm showing them why it's good. I'm proving. That is not influence frequency. What is influence frequency is the highest levels of clients move towards me because I am the woman they cannot ignore. Period. This is not influence frequency. I want to be respected in my relationships, but I'm still adjusting all of my energy based on how others treat me. That's not influence frequency. But what is my presence commands respect before I even ask for it. So you never have to. The influence frequency is the energy of icons. When you move, the world adjusts and everything feels effortless. You no longer seek validation, and then opportunities come to you so easily. You speak from the frequency of I am, and people will move, they will invest, they listen, they follow, no questions asked. So today, I want you to lock this frequency in. How will the world adjust to you from this moment forward? What are you done seeking, proving, or explaining? And what will never be the same after today? Divine Divas, let's break down the DIVVA Codes. And we are talking about the first V in the DIVVA Codes. The first V is vibrational sovereignty. Nothing stays the same in my presence. Vibrational sovereignty is the law of energy mastery. It's not about holding a high vibe. It's not even about managing your energy or healing everything. This is the frequency of total energetic command. And when you move in vibrational sovereignty, you are dissolving problems as you engage with them. Like as you are like, okay, what's the solutions? The problems start to shift just because you are working with them. Like just because you have decided to focus on something other than the problem and the solution. You're shifting energies and you are disintegrating blocks because of your presence. Because this field that you're in when you're in vibrational sovereignty is calibration. It is calibrating. It is a recalibration. It is you are the energy. And it's the highest form of energetic authority. It is God, frequency, and motion. And so vibrational sovereignty is the energy that overrides everything. And in ancient civilizations, the most powerful beings were not the ones who spoke the loudest. It was the ones whose presence shifted the air in the room. The priestesses didn't need to prove anything. They walked and then people were like, whoa. Even if you look at religious texts, Yeshua didn't heal through like a process. It was through his presence. And Yeshua said, greater works than these, so shall you do. When your frequency is at a certain vibration level, and in God Frequency Decoded, in the third call, the fifth day, we are going to talk about the frequency, the 144,000 hertz frequency. When you are at a certain frequency, you can shift illnesses. Distortion just cannot exist in your space. And this is why, like in certain temples, even when you travel around the world, certain people cannot go in certain rooms in certain temples because the lower frequencies can bring those, or try to bring those frequencies down, or you want to keep those frequencies as clean and clear as they get to be. I was reading, it's interesting. I just recently started reading the David R. Hawkins book, and he wrote this book about the map of consciousness explained, and he wrote a book about like different frequencies, and he's tested it. He's a scientist, right? He's an MD, he's a PhD. And of course, there are a lot of things in the book that I'm like, oh, I can see how that was true when he wrote it, right? Because he wrote it so, like in the, I don't know, 2012 or before that. No, it was before that. I think he passed away. So he wrote this probably in the 2000s or something, 2005 or something like that. Now the world, like after 2012, there was a shift, right? The age of Aquarius. We're going deeper into the age of Aquarius. We have now, we had a huge energetic shift that happened in 2020 with the pandemic. So many more people doing inner work and things like that. There are so many more people that are at this higher frequency. So the way he saw movement, if you're in a higher frequency, he was really looking at it through the lens of most of the people that were at those high frequencies were Buddhist, they were monks, there was Gandhi, Jesus, Yeshua, things like that. And so they lived life, right? In the ancient text, they lived life in a different way. What we are having now is people at a higher frequency. And like I tested my frequency and it was really, really high. But we don't have to take ourselves away from the world in order to be in this frequency. And this is the purpose of Divinity House. This is the purpose of La Lumiere, the Divine Diva Circle, is to have more of us at this higher frequency where we're making all the money, where we're doing all the things, where we're helping to raise the frequency of the world. Because when you gather together people of a high frequency, people that have vibrational sovereignty, you change the frickin' world. We don't have to go to mountains and hide ourselves because of so many low frequencies in the world. No, we know that our frequency is the frequency that people have to rise up to because our frequency is that powerful. Your aura, when fully calibrated to your divine power, is untouchable. Vibrational sovereignty is the master frequency. In higher dimensions, when we're thinking about higher dimensions, and vibrational sovereignty is the governing force of all creation. This is why when you truly unlock vibrational sovereignty, the entire reality can dissolve or rebuild around you. This is what I mean. Like, you have the quantum soup. You can point and say, okay, this is what I want to experience. And then you get to start experiencing that, focusing on that, and you will start to see that unfold in your life and your reality. And it takes a little bit of practice, right? But it can happen very fast. This is why I love to tell the story, and it's going to be perfect for here as an example for you. When I was driving Uber, I had started this business and created all the drama that I thought I needed, my bottom to the top story, and I ended up having to file for bankruptcy and all the things. I drove Uber and Lyft, and oftentimes I would take people to the airport and things like that. So I go and I'm picking up this lady, and I could tell, like, I'm going to get her bag. She is fuming. She is not having a good day. Like, she is not happy at all. But, I just have the music on low, and I'm just like, I said, would you like me to take your bag? And she's like, yes. And then, okay. So I open her door. I take the bag. I put it in the trunk. I'm getting us going, right? Did not say a single word to this woman in the entire probably 15 or 20 minute drive. Maybe it's even 10. It wasn't that long of a drive. Let's say 10 to 20 minutes. I'm turning the curve to go into the airport, and she's like, what do you do? Because it's not this. And I was like, huh? What do you mean? She was like, I just know that this is not your job. She's like, I got into your car. She's like, and it's so quickly. She's like, I was so mad at the world. She had just found out, like, I think her boyfriend or had cheated, and just, it was just horrible. And she's like, I was so angry. And she's like, as soon as I just got into the car, she's like, you didn't say a single word to me. She's like, I felt happier. I knew that this was going to work out for me. She was like, I knew my life would change. And she was like, so I know, it's starting to make me cry. She's like, I know that this isn't your job. She's like, so tell me what you do, because whatever you do, I need to follow you. I need to be around you. I need this. And so at the time I had the book, The Aligned Receiver, which is now a bestseller. And I told her about the book. She's like, I'm buying it today. She bought it while we were turning the corner. I told her about where I am. She followed my Instagram, and she just was like, you didn't need to tell me a thing. She's like, but just being in your vibration lifted my vibration so high. And she's like, I knew I was going to be okay. And it didn't matter what happened. I don't know if you hear it. I'm a little teary-eyed telling this story, because this is what it does. And this is what I used to discredit. I didn't think that what I had and what I brought to this world was enough. I said, oh, everybody's like, oh, you're the vibration lifter and the energy shifter. And I was like, yeah. And I never thought that that was enough. But to know that when people are in my world, when they're in my energy, that they lift their vibration, which means that I impacted her and everyone who came into her world after that. And this woman ended up, she's still in the world today. She ended up getting married and finding somebody else, and like just life turned out so good. And she still attributes it to that drive. This is vibrational sovereignty, knowing that your very existence is a force of freaking change. And I'm never about like sticking your head in the sand or ignoring, the situations of what's going on in the world, but don't let it overtake you. Feel the feelings, heal the triggers, like allow yourself to dive into the emotion and move those energies out of your body, because energy, its feelings were supposed to be like energy in motion. It wasn't supposed to just stay there. Naturally, you are, if we think about what you were built for, you are a being of love, and that is natural for you. The higher frequencies, the higher vibrations, that's natural for you. And what I get to be is a tuning fork to tune you back to your natural existence. When you are in vibrational sovereignty, your presence alone is a recalibration field. And in the ancient temples of Kemet, people who entered in the high frequency chambers can ascend it to greater power, or couldn't withstand that energy and they left. This is what happens when you embody vibrational sovereignty. Everything below your standard will either rise or go away. And that story that I told in the when I was talking about influence with my client, she needed to shift her vibration. We couldn't have you out there, not saying that you can't make money when you're upset or angry. You can. Money is here to expand, to support your desires. It doesn't care if you're angry or sad. It doesn't. But for her and what she was actually selling at that time, I needed her to believe in herself more than she believed in anything else. And in order to get her there, I needed to shift her vibration. We needed to work on her vibration. We needed to work on her positivity. You see, what happens when you lock in your vibrational sovereignty and you remember that it is in your power to shift your vibration. It is in your power to raise it. You can. But the moment you know that, the moment you've locked in these codes, you'll walk into a room and people will turn. You'll have people in your car that maybe were sad, and now they know that they can take over the world. They know that none of that stuff that some cheater or whatever did to her will ever affect her, and that she is going to be okay. Vibrational sovereignty does not require action. It doesn't require explanation. It is an energy that is impossible to deny. Now, when you're not in vibrational sovereignty, what does it look like? You're still trying to move through all of the blocks before you move. You let people's reactions fuck with your head, mess with your head. You let it mess with your head and adjust your presence. You keep doing those micro proving actions instead of allowing yourself to remember who you are. You managing your vibration, you managing your frequency, you deciding that you get to feel all of your feelings and you also get to choose higher frequency feelings to intentionally feel is in your power. When you are in vibrational sovereignty, that means if you're having a bad day, you get to stop for a moment and let's work through what's going on. Let's feel it in our body. What thoughts are in my head? Like, use the aligned soul alchemy method. I'm going to teach you guys how to do it, but use the aligned soul alchemy method and say, whew, okay, I'm aware that something's off here. This is the thought that I'm thinking. Let me acknowledge all of this. Let me allow myself to work through this. Let me allow myself to decide, move it through my body. Let me feel the things that may be stuck and let me clear this out. And then let me choose how to align. Let me choose how I am going to align, what I'm going to believe, what the thoughts that I'm going to think, how I'm going to go in this direction, and then let me move. Vibrational sovereignty is not just about feeling. Also, you get to choose the feeling you want to feel and then move in the energy of that feeling so that you can really lock it into your brain and to your body, into your subconscious, into your nervous system, that this is the way we're moving going forward. And so vibrational sovereignty is like, if you're not in vibrational sovereignty, you're like, he broke up with me, so I'm just going to sit and just be sad I'm just going to be sad. Vibrational sovereignty says, we broke up. I'm really sad. I'm going to let myself cry. I'm going to cry through this. I'm going to look at what is triggering me about this breakup. I'm going to allow myself to work through it. I'm going to say, wow, let me acknowledge all of the feelings that I'm feeling about this freaking breakup. What do I think what am I making this mean about me? Where do I feel this in my body? How can I allow myself to move through these feelings in my body? And then I'm going to close this freaking cycle, because guess what? This doesn't have to take over my entire life for months and months and years, because I'm deciding that, that's interesting that I thought that. That's interesting that I didn't think I was good enough. It's interesting that I think that I needed him. And oh my God, I'm so okay as I am. I'm loving myself, who I am, and I don't need that. And I'm now going forward to remember that I'm the bad, amazing, most amazing, sexiest woman in the world, and I don't need this person to make me understand who I am. And I am going to choose in this moment that I am fine. I'm going to be neutral, and then I'm going to build on that neutrality. That is a vibrational sovereignty, because you're not letting someone else decide how you get to feel. You're choosing it for yourself. Vibrational sovereignty isn't like, oh my God, I've got negative in my bank account and I feel so scared, so sad, so anxious. I have bills coming. I don't know what to do. Vibrational sovereignty says, okay, it is what it is. I'm scared. I'm nervous. It feels like I'm going to not have enough money. Okay. What do I do now? Is what it is. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to feel it. What thoughts am I having here? What beliefs do I have that support this? What am I going to choose? What feelings are feeling in my body? Do I feel tension in my neck? Do I feel pain? What am I feeling? I'm going to shake that shit off, shake it out. I'm going to decide that, you know what? Money expands to support my desires. And I'm closing the cycle of of feast and famine, I'm deciding that I get to have overflow because I get to have overflow. And I've created avenues for this money to come through. And I'm deciding that it gets to come through here. That is vibrational sovereignty. You don't let other things decide how you feel. The divine diva feels the things, feels the feelings, goes through it, does her shifts, aligns, so alchemizes it, and then decides that problems dissolve in my presence. People shift instantly when they're in my space. The world moves because it has no choice to. So let me ask you, what are you allowing to adjust how you feel? What are you not being vibrationally sovereign over? And what is never going to be the same in your life after today? Let's talk about the second V in the DIVVA code, Divine Diva. We're going to talk about visionary receiving. I am the destination. Visionary receiving is an active living frequency. It is what I love to call walking with the quantum. It's a frequency of instant manifestation, and it is moving beyond belief to absolute knowing. Visionary receiving is the law of quantum magnetism. So let me tell you what the Divine Diva does not do. The Divine Diva doesn't wonder if things will happen. She's not hoping that they'll happen. She knows that they are unfolding, even when the external world has yet to catch up. When you have locked in the code of visionary receiving, it's not about waiting for signs or proof or even convincing others about your vision. It's about holding your vision so clearly and so powerfully that the world must reorganize itself around it. It is so fully embodying of the outcome that people can't help but adjust to your frequency. They're like, come on, let's go. This has to be done. Like, this girl is so confident. It really truly is about being the gravitational force of certainty that pulls every resource, opportunity, and person towards you. And so when you are in the frequency of visionary receiving, it's the frequency that truly bends reality. And so when we think of ancient Egypt and Kemet, they didn't hope to the gods, right? They didn't hope they would become gods. They knew they were already gods. They knew they were already divine. And so there was an unwavering certainty. You hear that talked about a lot in the industry, especially when it comes to marketing. You need to have certainty. People buy certainty. There's a reason why people buy certainty. It's because there's so many people in this world that aren't certain. They don't have the certainty, and so they want to buy it from someone else. They see people with it and they're like, oh my God, she knows this work. I need to be in her world. If we think of visionaries, a lot of people will think about Nikola Tesla, who didn't require the world to believe in free energy before he built it. His vision transcended what was considered even possible. And it's some of the reason why he's no longer here, because it threatened the oligarchy. It threatened what, the coal and fuel and the way fuel was. So the billionaires, it threatened them at the time, and they didn't want free energy. It's one of the things that some people that are, with the intergalactical beings, and we have the government and everybody telling us that they're in existence, and, you have the orbs and the people called Dior bags and all of that. I talk about this on my podcast, the Boujee Diva, and you one of the things that civilization would love to bring to earth is free energy, you know, and but that would totally change our society, right? It's why it's pushed back. It's like, but they push them back. No, 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 no. Because you have free energy, you have free resources, and then what? People don't have to live under a system that's profits over people, right? You don't need that capitalism profit over people narrative. When we think about Leonardo da Vinci, when he envisioned flying machines hundreds of years before human flight existed, he didn't question if it was real. He received a vision and moved accordingly to it. The divine feminine orders and matriarchal orders didn't look for proof of magic. They were magic. They received visions, and they moved with technology and knowledge that was far beyond their time. This is visionary receiving. The greatest innovators, the biggest quantum leaps, the miraculous shifts in reality, they don't come from people who need permission, validation, or proof. Innovation, quantum leaps, and miraculous shifts come to those who receive a vision and move forward with it as if it is done. When you are walking with the quantum, you are walking with energy beyond belief. Visionary receiving goes beyond belief. Belief still carries a little degree of doubt. It says, I trust that it's coming. I believe the universe will deliver. I know it's on its way. I think. Knowing is different. Visionary receiving is built in knowing. Knowing removes the element of time. Belief says it will happen. Knowing says it already has. When you move in visionary receiving, you are no longer wondering if money is coming. You already know it's here. You no longer hope for aligned clients. You know that they are magnetized to you. You no longer worry about extended timelines or external timelines. You know that time bends to your frequency. Because in the quantum field, there's no time. Everything already exists. Everything is possible. Everything is created. We'll talk about that in the last code. This is why visionary receiving is so powerful. The moment you stop trying to believe and start knowing, reality shifts. What happens when you lock in your visionary receiving? When you hold a vision so big that others can't comprehend it and continue moving towards it without needing proof, evidence, or validation, you act as if, you move as if it's already there, because guess what? It already is. This is the state of walking, living, and breathing manifestation. Manifestation in motion. This is you being the manifestation in motion. It's the energy of magnetic inevitability. And there is a place where knowing alone moves mountains. I told you the story of my client who was going to have that $100,000 month. She knew it. She knew it. It was just knowing. She didn't need to prove it. She didn't need to act it. She didn't even need to feel it in her body anymore. She just said, this is the month. And even when 27 days had passed and it was the 28th day of the month and she had $0 in her business and she only had 4 more days left, 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st of December, she said, this is going to be my $100,000 month. I already know it is. It already is. And so instead of hoping, instead of praying, instead of trying to make it happen, she just sat in the knowing of it. Like it's already done. And it was. She had a $102,000 day. Now, what does it look like when you are not in visionary receiving? It looks like waiting for external proof, asking for signs, needing confirmation. Maybe you say, I'm ready for my next level, but you keep checking to see, lowering your standards because I want to make sure that people still can say yes. Waiting for validation, for somebody to knight you as the leader instead of just saying, I am the leader. Now, what does it look like when you are a visionary receiver? You walk knowing your vision is real. You move knowing that the outcome is guaranteed. You don't look for proof because you are the proof. Your desire of it is the proof. So you launch your offer with certainty that people are joining because you wouldn't have had that desire if there weren't people asking for exactly what you had. You create content as if your audience is already massive. You charge the prices you want to charge because you know that that's the price you get to charge, and that there are people at every price point. And it's not because you hoped or manifested harder. It's because you're moving in absolute certainty, knowing. So, for example, if a non-visionary receiving says, I think my offer is worth $10,000, but I should lower the price to make it easier for people to say yes. And when you are in the visionary receiving code, you're like, my work is $10,000. The transformation is $10,000. The right people will see it and know it's worth $10,000. They'll know its value. And so I'm selling it from the knowing that my offer is perfect for my ideal dreamy client. Or maybe another way of not being visionary receiving, you say, I want to go live and share my story, but what if nobody shows up? Maybe I should wait until I have more followers or more people in my audience. If you're in visionary receiving code, you say, I don't need an audience to validate my voice. I show up, I speak, my work changes lives. Universe is my algorithm. The right people will see it. When you embody visionary receiving as your natural state, the world responds to your frequency, and you no longer need proof, as you know that all external circumstances will reorganize to match you. When you're walking with the quantum, instant manifestation is just the way it is. It's like the story that I told the other day. My client was like, I really do want a Louis Vuitton bag, but I don't want to pay the $4,000. If I meant to get one, I'll get one, but I really want one. And I was like, okay. And what happens? She's on a walk and she sees in one of the stores the exact bag that she wants for $44. Certified, real bag. $44, not $4,000, $44. Why? Because she is a visionary receiver. Instant manifestation is her freaking norm. She knows she's the creator and the creation. She's the sugar daddy and the sugar baby. She is God and the human. She is God energy peering through that human. She is divine. She's divine diva. So where in your life are you waiting? Where in your life are you seeking validation? Where have you not decided that I am receiving this and so it is. I've said it and it's done. Where are you not really owning your own vision for what you decided gets to happen in the world? Because once you decide that you walk with the quantum, everything moves for you and matches your energy. Remember, visionary receiving says, I am the destination. It is quantum magnetism at its finest. DIVVA. It starts with a D and ends in an A. We are talking about the DIVVA Codes. The codes of being the divine diva. And the final code that we are going to discuss today is A. A for accelerated collapse. Accelerated collapse of time. It means that time bends for me. And so let's talk about the accelerated collapse in time. Because this is what happens when you are the embodiment of the divine authority. This is a code where time is a non-factor. You no longer ask when, you say it's done. You no longer ask, when is it going to happen? You just say, it's already happened. It's already done. This is when you move beyond the illusion of the waiting, the tracking, the measuring, all of that stuff, because you remember that time is a construct. And time was created to measure how long it took you to get from space A to space B. But see, when you activate this code within you, you are no longer operating inside of that construct. Time no longer dictates your results. Time no longer determines what's possible, and time no longer holds power over your expansion. Because when you move as divinity in motion, the divine diva, you move outside of the limits of time. And so let's talk about the accelerated collapse. The frequency where time, effort, and illusion of working toward something dissolve. You see, accelerated collapse is the law of timeless manifestation. This is the frequency of instant shifts, where next level results don't take time. It just takes your decision and your alignment to it. So you stop preparing to become her and realize that you already are her and has already always been her. You see? So you stop preparing to become them and realize that you were already them. You were already that person. This is how you break the entire paradigm of gradual growth, step-by-step progress, linear success, because there is absolutely no waiting. There is no next level. There is only now. So the accelerated collapse is the death of a linear timeline. So if you are still playing in the rules of time, then you are operating in the lower frequency of reality. No good or bad, no right or wrong. It's just, I'm just being real with you. Because time is not real. And ancient civilizations and mystics knew this. In ancient Kemet, time was seen as a field, something you could bend, not something you had to move through. The priestess initiated a vision, and then once it was locked in, they knew it was already done. In Vedic teachings, time is not even linear. It's cyclical, and cyclical is infinite, and malleable. The only reason you experience delay is because you have not fully collapsed the illusion of separation between you and the outcome. In quantum physics, time is not a fixed force. It's a dimension that bends based on frequency. This means that when you move as a woman who already has what she desires, you literally shift into a timeline where it is already done. Now, I taught about timelines in SugarBABY. It is just chef's kiss. And we talked about the shifting of timelines. Time has no bounds on you because it's just a construct. And those who master energy no longer operate within it. The reason high level beings move at what seems like impossible speed is because they don't see time as a barrier, they see it as a tool. And when you remove the belief that it takes time to do something, then you aren't beholden to that. There are civilizations that do not experience time as a limitation because they don't believe in it. The reason your results take time is because you think they do. The moment you stop believing in delay, the moment you stop experiencing it. Those who master accelerated collapse experience what is called quote unquote miracles, but they are the miracle. Instant manifestation is a divine truth, and it is something that my clients are starting to experience very fast because of what the truths that we taught in SugarBABY, because accelerated time is the time warp frequency. Accelerated collapse, right? That accelerated time, quote unquote, and I'm using like air quotes because it's just time, right? Is how we navigate reality. And there's no next level. There's only a phase that you shift through. This is why when you collapse time, you do not move faster. You simply shift into a dimension where what you desire is already happening. Do you hear what I'm saying? It's really you collapsing timelines. So when you collapse time and you're quantum leaping, it's not that you have moved faster. You are simply shifting into a dimension where your desire is already happening. Instead, like when you are looking at something and you're like, this is what I desire, and you're just tapping into that energy and you're like, and so it is. You aren't trying to like progress. You are shifting to a timeline, directly into the timeline where that completed manifestation is done and you are the one holding it. The moment you stop waiting, time will collapse. The moment you stop measuring your progress, the result will appear. The moment you stop preparing for the next level and embody it now, it's already here. This is accelerated collapse of timelines. Let me tell you the divine truth about time. The 3D world has conditioned you to track progress, measure effort, wait for evidence, but time is not real. It was created to track movement in a linear way. It's a measurement tool. It's not a universal law. It only exists when you believe in it. That's why some people would be like, oh my God, this year is taking forever. And other people would be like, it felt like a minute. When you connect to your divine power, time dissolves. You no longer wait for things to unfold. You declare them as done. You shift from tracking progress to witnessing instant manifestation. And because when you truly step into being the divine diva, time is not something you worry about. You're no longer saying, how long will it take? When will it happen? You are locked into the certainty that it is already done. And when you hold the frequency of absolute certainty, the 3D reality catches up. I'm going to say that again. When you hold the frequency of absolute certainty, the 3D reality catches up. And so let's talk about the 3D, 5D split of the earth. I'm going to give it just a little bit here because we're talking about time. The veil of illusion is gone, and we exist in a world where 3D and 5D are overlapping. And the 5D realm operates in instantaneous manifestation. The 3D realm still plays in time and density. And matter moves slower in the 3D, which is why it takes longer for physical, manifestations to unfold. But here's the game as the divine. The moment you decide something is done, it's already done. It's already happened. The 3D is just catching up to what you already know. And when you decide that you can just watch reality rearrange itself, not with doubt, but with amusement. Because when you are divine, you are moving beyond time. You don't wait to see results. You don't wonder if it's working. You decide and then observe how it unfolds in the physical. This is the power as the divine creator. You no longer track when, you just know it's already done. So, what happens when you unlock accelerated collapse? You know, the moment you decided something is done, it starts to happen instantly, like my client with the bag. The moment you let go of doubt, everything aligns. The moment you shift into knowing, suddenly things are moving at quantum speed. You don't force it, you're not ignoring action. It's the living state of knowing it is already done. When you collapse time, things move fast, things can you decide and it's done. That's where that decision comes in. And because you're no longer concerned about time, you get to enjoy the process. I'll never forget my client Danielle, and she had $2,000 months in her business. She has a physical business, and she was stuck in like, okay, we're going to, she's going to step into her higher energy. She had things going on with her family. And so we just kept working on her love, her joy. We kept working on like remembering that she was the only game in town. Like if they wanted what she had, they had to come to her and only her. And then she started getting like contracts from like, football teams and things like that. And it just started to happen and happen and happen. She decided that her business was the only game in town. And she started to speak with certainty about her business. She started to walk in rooms with CEOs of billion-dollar companies and be like, you need me. I don't need you. She didn't say, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? And guess what? Those $2,000 months turned into $160,000 quarters. And she was like, oh my God, I checked my quarter and I made $160,000 this quarter, because she moved as if it was already done. She remembered she was the only game in town. She was a category of one. Not because she worked harder, but because she was moving with certainty and decided not to look at the time. When you are in the energy of accelerated collapse, guess what's the whole moment? The moment you decide you're done with a toxic relationship, it ends. The moment you choose a new standard, everything matches. I'll never forget the time where I decided that I was no longer available for client calls or messages after like 9. So I just decided, nope, I'm done for that. I'm going to watch my show. I'm done. Right. And I said, if something happens, they can message me on like at 9:30. I'm sorry. If something happens and they want to message me on the weekend, it can only be what did I say? An emergency. I think something like that. Guess what? Immediately I got no more messages after 9. Now I get messages after 9, but I don't feel the urge that I have to respond immediately. It's no problem. They can wait until the morning. And then that time where I said, I'm done. I'm not having messages after 9, blah, blah, blah. I got a message on the weekend and the client said, I just want you to know, like, this is an emergency. This is what's happening. See, I never told her she could only call me in an emergency. I didn't even tell anybody that I was done with messages after 9. My energy told them without telling them, because it just changed overnight. I stepped into a quantum reality where I just didn't get messages after 9. And if clients messaged me on the weekend, they told me it was an emergency. Because when you move first, time doesn't delay. It doesn't waver. Your reality can shift instantly when you decide you're done with something. When you're not in accelerated collapse energy, you are working towards something instead of deciding it's done. You are playing in progress, tracking and measuring instead of being the end result. You are waiting for signs, signals, the perfect moment. You're making things and your success conditional. You say you're building $1 million business instead of saying, I am the leader of a multi-million-dollar empire. You're like, you're walking like with your shoulders back and being like, this is a $1 billion brand. Okay, so all the people are gonna be like, well, I can't say it until I've done and gotten $1 million. There's a way that you say it. Think about this. a lot of those unicorn businesses, like when people evaluate a business and say, "Oh, this is a unicorn, it's $1 billion business," it's not because that business had already generated $1 billion. It's because they think that the idea is good and the energy of the owner is a certain way, the PR that they're getting is great, and that it will grow to $1 billion. And so when somebody says, "I've got a unicorn business, it's $1 billion business," and it's because it had $1 billion valuation, not because it's worth $1 billion. I got a whole podcast coming about how billionaires are not really billionaires. Most of them are just on paper, except if you're Taylor Swift or Beyonce or Jay-Z. Most of it's, but there's other people that don't have like the actual goods behind it. Warren Buffett is a real billionaire, but I'm talking about like Elon Musk. If Tesla stock was evaluated what it's really worth, which it's probably about $14 if you look at it based on what like other car companies, he's not a billionaire. In fact, he's just moderately rich. It's all on paper. So I'm just saying, for you to be like, you know what? I got $1 billion business. It is growing. I am the CEO who's moving like a woman who leads $1 billion business. That's it. So what does it look like to be in this accelerated collapse scene of time? You're not working towards something, you're deciding they're done. And you're walking like someone who decides it's done. You don't slowly raise your authority. You just say, "I am the authority. I'm the best at what I do." And people are going to feel it. You don't play in time. You work with frequency. And so you're not getting ready to scale. You move like a CEO who already has a multi-million-dollar business. You sell your thing that you have, your widget, your service, whatever, as it's the best thing in freaking town. Because you believe that, you know it. You walk through the world as a woman who is deeply chosen because she has chosen herself. Let me tell you what is not accelerated collapse. Saying, I just need one more client and then I'll feel like I'm actually at that level because maybe if I tweak my offer, it'll land better. No. Accelerated collapsing of timeline woman, you, the diva, says, I'm already the coach people pay premium to work for. I'm not trying to make $50,000 a month. I'm stacking them. I don't guess. I know my worth. And I wake up every day knowing my offers are magnetic as fuck. You see, what is not accelerated collapse is, I really want to invest in that mentorship. Like, the Divinity House sounds so amazing, but I'm going to wait until I sign more clients. I just wish the money would just magically appear. No. Accelerated collapse says, I've decided that I'm going to be in that room. I've decided that overflow is my default. And I've decided that when I decide, the money comes. And I've created the pathways, and I know that I'm already her, and that is what I'm going to do. It is inevitable. I don't play in fear, I play in certainty. Not an accelerated collapse says, I feel like I'm stepping into my next level, but I've got so much to work on and I need to feel confident first. No. If you're in accelerated collapse, you said, I'm not waiting to become that woman. I'm her today. Kind of like that example that I said when she was like, I'm done with that. She made the decision, collapsed to the version of her, the timeline where that didn't exist. And she went from $200,000 a month to $400,000 a month. And it was like, boom. If you want it visionary, like visibility and influence, but you're not an accelerated collapse, it sounds like, I know I have something powerful to say, but if people don't get it, what happens if they don't get it? Should I wait until I have more engagement before I start showing up? No. Accelerate collapse says my voice shifts industries. I don't wait for proof. I'm the leader and I show up as the authority as I am. I've decided I am. People will feel my presence. They'll read my words. My message isn't something I test. It's something I own. Are you feeling the energy behind that? Accelerated collapse is the moment you stop working towards something and start living as the version of you who already has it. It's not about waiting for proof. It's about moving from the knowing that it's already done. Your timeline doesn't speed up because you push harder. It collapses because you finally stop playing an almost game to it's already mine. Time is never a factor for you. And so where are you done waiting for proof, waiting for time, waiting? How will your life never be the same after listening to this today? Because once you collapse time, reality moves at your speed, and then you realize your power, you're never tracking ever again.